everybody, and welcome to Deep Dive Zone, a Sonic the Hedgehog review series, reread series, whatever, for fans of all shapes and sizes. I'm not totally comfortable calling this a podcast because of how much of a visual element there is now.
I think it's safe to still call it a podcast because I think audio-only listeners can still get something out of it, even if they're not getting the entire experience.
I guess. They're definitely gonna wonder what was up with the sound effects last episode, though. Anyway, we are talking today about some more issues of the Sonic the Hedgehog Archie comics, starting with Sonic the Hedgehog number 6.
Everyone's favorite Sonic game, Sonic Spinball.
Oh boy, I remember this one.
This is a strange one.
I like that they have to make a joke on the cover about telling kids what a tie-in is.
The sense of humor in these comics is just too much.
Yeah.
Most of the jokes are just puns, and
Yeah.
kind of mediocre puns.
Yeah, they're I'm trying to figure out the good word because it's not juvenile. It feels like dad humor is what it is.
Yeah, kind of.
Not even like boomer dad, just like the innocuous dad humor.
Yeah, a lot of it is just dad jokes.
Yep, and that is a constant here in our story for this issue. The Spin Doctor, written by Gallagher, drawn by Monic. When mounting an attack on Robotnik's base, Sonic and the Freedom Fighters find it abandoned, with Robotnik taking up residence in the Vego Fortress, a maze of traps and pinball tables. I think that's how you say it. Vego Fortress? I don't know.
That was in the game too, but what the heck does that mean?
I have no idea.
Okay, good. It's not just something I missed. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, that's quality writing. Well, you know what, though? Spinball was the one that actually had connections to Sad AM, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes.
So I guess that makes the most sense to do a tie-in with the Archie comics since they're so close to Sad AM.
They didn't even tie in the thing. The Freedom Fighters were never trapped though. Like that would have
True.
They could have at least done that, but they didn't.
Well, that was the thing that I was gonna say, is that this is, I think, gonna be a bit of a trend for adaptations of games in Archie, is that, you have the Freedom Fighters at the start, who are gonna storm Robotnik's base, and then they learn, oh, he's in this different place, and then Sonic goes there alone, and the rest of the team is, barely even, they're not seen for the entire rest of the story, basically.
That's kind of the problem with adapting these games, where the most you're going to get is Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Robotnik.
Well, you say that, but we watched an Adventures of Sonic episode that managed to cram a bunch of other characters in there and be a Sonic Spinball adaptation. Granted, not an especially faithful one, but, they made an effort. And I do think that it's funny that Spinball has such a presence, because it's just, the nature of Sonic media that was coming out at the time was such that Sonic 1 and 2 were too much in the background for stuff of this era to adapt. And then Sonic 3, we'll actually be getting Sonic 3 next time, I think, but, it's like, this managed to do it, and sort of the Underground episode did, but that was still, 5 years after that game came out.
Right.
And so every Sonic media in the 90s was left with weird shit like Spinball and Chaotix and, Triple Trouble or whatever to adapt, and never the games that everybody remembers.
Right. That's what happens, though, when your media franchise gets really big after, 2 or 3 games instead of, 1 game.
Yeah.
So, pretty faithful adaptation, I will say. You've got all the zones. You've got the toxic caves. I don't remember the second one.
Lava Powerhouse.
Lava Powerhouse, the machine, and then Showdown. They even give you the titles, which is kind of cute, and it certainly matches. They throw in weird things though, like Hip and Hop, the little animals that are there for some reason.
Those guys are in Lava Powerhouse.
I'm stupid. You are right. They just weren't given names, so I forgot about them.
Well, and it's not like they don't also throw in other stuff. I don't think the machine had carnivorous plants in it.
I feel like I would have remembered that. Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, if it did, I would have played more of Spinball.
Yeah. And it's, as an adaptation, it is weird because they don't win.
Yeah, so...
Yeah.
It's weird because I'm used to adaptations just being ads for the games, but this one goes 90% of the way there, and then Robotnik's like, nah, I'm not going to fight you for the final boss. I'm just going to throw you out for some
Why
reason.
don't more villains just do that?
Yeah, just waste his time. Just keep pushing him down.
Exactly.
So yeah, but they're holding animals captive in the machine, and Sonic completely fails to save them, and they don't acknowledge that at all.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I guess I didn't either.
Those guys got roboticized.
Yikes.
Damn.
You know, if it wasn't for the fact that they completely brushed over that and instead acknowledged it, that would have been actually a pretty dark thing for the comics.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll get to see Sonic fail properly later on.
Jesus.
Do we even have to talk about the between pages now? Like, I feel like they're so similar. Like,
I mean, there's some funny stuff or some weird, like. I guess my question is: are the between pages canon?
I don't know that they're not canon, but it's like,
Because
Antoine gets a message from, Dark Brandon or whoever, and
I can't.
I'm sorry, I see the name Brandon and it pops into my head now. And it's like getting fan letters from real people doesn't feel canon, whether it technically is or isn't.
Right, and well, and also, I only question it because Antoine has like his own ready room or whatever they're called. So, is this all just a show?
I don't
pretty
know.
sure this isn't canon, although it easily could be because that's just how these comics are.
Well, to be fair, that also does seem kind of in character for Antoine.
See, yeah,
Just
the
him.
idea
Yeah,
of
that's true.
Antoine
Antoine.
building a dressing room for himself like he's a star, even when he isn't, and it's like only his exists. Like maybe he would even have his own trailer.
No, that is very much in character for Antoine. So part of me likes to think that this is totally canon,
Yeah.
and the letter is just a fan letter that they Antoine just got because the freedom fighters are famous.
Yeah.
I could totally see that. Here's a question though. Did they just make up this letter, or did they twist this letter into a joke, do you suppose, in reality? Because they might have made it up, or maybe some kid back in the day understood that Antoine is a real hero.
I think that this was a real letter. I don't know if it was sent by Joe Biden, but I do think that it's a real letter because they specifically have to put an asterisk on one part to mention the part where Antoine did something good. And that's something that a fan would put in a letter, but that the writers would not actually remember.
Okay. Yeah,
Interesting.
Well,
I
then,
like
Brandon, if that is your name, I support you.
Yeah. Let's go, Brandon.
Oh my
I'm
god.
sorry. Is that joke going to be dated by the time this episode comes out? Who knows? Probably.
I
Probably.
don't even know
not.
what you're going on about.
That's
but
fine.
Whatever.
Don't worry.
All right. Well,
And
it's funny that
so-
we're going this in depth on a one-page comic and not talking about the other one because the other one is Sonic's Christmas Carol, written by Angelo De Cesare, and it's an adaptation of A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens with Robotnik cast as Scrooge, and it is exactly what you'd expect.
I don't even remember reading this. Wow.
I think I like A Muppet Christmas Carol better.
Maybe it's the nostalgia. I think this one is fun enough. Kind of an odd choice to have Snively's debut in the comics be in this Christmas Carol parody.
Yeah, he calls himself Jacob Snarly, because it's the past, business partner showing up as the ghost of Christmas past or whatever. But this is the first time we see Snively in these comics, and so I have to imagine that like a kid reading this who didn't watch Sad AM would be like, "Who the hell is this guy? And why does he keep appearing?"
Yeah, so when he appears proper 2 issues later, they don't explain his origin there either. So yeah, it's really weird.
Huh, interesting. I hadn't thought about that. That's a good point.
The rest of this, my only other notes is that I was initially pissed off because they seemed to take the Sonic and Robotnik were kids together story from the miniseries as canon because they have the flashback to your first Christmas with Uncle Chuck and Sonic, and I was pissed off because like that's supposed to be in Sonic's imagination, but then I realized at the end of the issue this is also in Sonic's imagination. So Sonic just regularly has fantasies where he and Robotnik were childhood adoptive siblings.
Right. That is such a strange thing for Sonic to fantasize about.
Nightmares.
That's a better explanation, to be honest.
I will say, the fact that Chuck himself is alive and kicking in the Ghost of Christmas Future segment with Sonic and company well into their old age. Chuck is still badass. He is so much older than
Goddamn
them
right.
and still kicking.
You're
Yeah.
goddamn right.
And yeah, Christmas apparently exists on Mobius. I don't know. We can't examine that. There's so many references to things there shouldn't be, but
Right, it's impossible to examine something like that on pretty much any universe.
my last note is that Sonic appears in his, Santa sleigh or whatever, except his sleigh is a giant shoe.
Yeah.
That's yeah, no, that's pretty in character for him.
All right, whatever.
I like to imagine that if the sleigh just turns into like something associated with the person writing in it. That makes no sense, but for some reason that just
I
sounds
guess
right
that's
to me.
We're getting lore on
that's all
Santa's
Sonic's
sleigh.
got.
Right.
Yeah, he doesn't have
Yeah.
any personal property, just his shoes.
Yeah, Santa. For all we know, Santa only owns the sleigh. He doesn't own anything else.
Right. That makes sense.
I'm glad someone thinks that.
Yeah, no, I think this is plenty silly. I mean, you've got lots of nice moments.
Oh yeah, no, there's
I
nothing
like
wrong
when
with
Robotnik is relaxing by watching a dumpster fire on TV.
it.
Oh, I thought that was the Channel 8 news.
Ooh,
No, it's goofy. I don't
Yeah.
mind it too much. Mostly it's just that I get annoyed by so many imaginary stories because I like to have things have any amount of consequences whatsoever.
Also, I think we pointed this out last episode. This is issue 6, and this kind of, it. I think they were trying to do it as a like, real life Christmas tie-in, but it was a month before Christmas, so
Yeah.
The
it's
timing
like,
is weird.
yeah, so it makes it feel more like filler, and 6 issues in, we've got more filler. That doesn't really good.
I find it funny that you're holding this comic to those standards, though, when it has not shown that it is anything but silliness and filler. Yeah.
Well, that's the
No,
thing is it the fact that we know where things go that's making us expect too much of it? And probably, yeah.
maybe.
But also this show was this was definitely after a point where kids would expect something more like Sat AM, so I don't know.
But remember, Sat AM ran concurrently with Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog.
That's really got to be Whiplash already, and then
Maybe
get to this, which is like an even stranger kind of Whiplash.
maybe they needed two different comic books, one for each show.
No, that's dumb.
Oh my gosh.
That's really dumb.
All right. Well, speaking of dumb, let's move on to issue number 7 here, I think.
Oh boy.
I like the cover page on this issue.
Yeah, I'm really happy to see a book like Moby Dick just get absolutely obliterated by Sonic. That's how I feel about that book. So we're starting off with Uncle Chuck's Treasure, written by DeCesare, drawn by Monik. The Freedom Fighters and Robotnik clash in a struggle over Uncle Chuck's supposed buried treasure, which could contain magic capable of defeating Robotnik. Could
That
contain
summary makes this seem so much higher stakes than it is.
it. Does not contain it.
I like when they find the treasure map and it has like a route that winds all through these like dangerous areas in a circle when you could just go straight to the X.
Listen, you gotta follow a certain path. When you move in space, you also move in time. You won't be able to reach the destination unless you spend the correct amount of time searching.
I can tell it's a reference, but I have no idea what to.
So it's
All
weird
right.
that Chuck is an inventor, but everything he's quote-unquote invented so far has contained at least one mention of magic, because there's both this treasure and the magic rings.
True.
Well, see, in fiction, or in reality, actually.
Are you
What
gonna
is
throw the Arthur
difference?
C. Clarke quote at me?
I
Yeah.
think I've
What's
already
the
used
difference between high technology and magic?
that is,
Yeah.
and I think I used that quote in an episode of Sat AM as well.
So we got Mobius Natural Park. Why do we only have one park to represent the entire planet?
It's the only one Robotnik hasn't been able to take over.
I think Mobius is kind of like the word Smurf in the Smurfs, where they just kind of throw it at whatever.
I mean, it really feels like Mobius should really just be the name of a country on the planet, not the entire planet. With
Yeah,
how
like the Land of Oo or something.
exactly, because I mean, they talk about Sonic running around the planet. It's like, okay, I get that he's fast and all, but that's dumb. Planets are really big. I don't care how fast you are, Sonic.
Yeah, he doesn't even have the boost yet.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, this story is mostly badnik fighting.
Yeah, because they get to the park and then Robotnik attacks and then there's fights. I really like the Robotnik line when the freedom fighters scatter and he responds with, "They're separating! Splendid! It'll be even more fun hunting them down one by one." Could almost be a Sad AM line.
It's pretty
That is
good.
definitely a Sad AM line. And
It's just more of him enjoying that evil aesthetic. Yeah, so there's a fair amount of action in this, which is all kind of your standard stuff, usually just manipulating the environment or something to get rid of the badniks. But it highlights probably my biggest problem with the look of this, is because if you were to frame this with interesting angles or just unconventional panel layouts, I think that I would not be nearly as comparing this to newspaper comics or as even critical of the dialogue just if it looked interesting. But Monic tends to draw almost everything at either a side angle or like a 3/4 angle, and they're almost always like, it feels posed kind of like when you see any shot of Family Guy and they're all just standing there.
that's a good example. I would also like to point out, I think this issue is where Monic's art started getting actually quite a bit better.
Yeah, he's a little less sloppy.
I pointed out some of Sonic in some of the Sonics he drew in previous issues looked almost like their faces were melting. Sonic looks a lot more like Sonic in starting with this issue, I noticed.
Yeah, he does okay. Oh, right, the treasure. They were searching for a treasure, that's right. It's a pair of Sonic's baby shoes that are bronzed.
Yeah.
So why would Chuck bury those and leave a map?
It's a personal treasure. He never actually stated the treasure was worth a shit.
Well, but why go do an elaborate way to hide it? It's weird.
Why keep them secret?
Yeah, why not just put on the map what they are?
Well, hey.
Well, yeah.
We get a secret, 100-issue early preview of Shadow the Hedgehog in the bonus page.
Oh?
Oh, right. Yes.
That's it. That's the whole joke. I don't have anything else for this.
He's just beating up the Shadow,
Shouldn't that hurt him? I'm told that a Shadow is the true self.
I mean, if we're going Persona 4 rules, then yes, it should hurt him, sort of.
Anyway, second page is just a joke about how to draw Sonic. I don't have anything to say about that.
Robotnik almost drew Mickey Mouse.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Alright. Second story for this issue is Sorceress in Distress. Written by DeCesare, drawn by Monic. When searching for a staff to complete her witch costume, Sally finds herself whisked away by a love-stricken Robotnik who doesn't recognize her. This is peak Adventures of Sonic, honestly. We've got contrived circumstances, obvious costumes that somehow fool the allegedly dangerous villain, Sonic being extremely overpowered, and a slightly creepy undertone of a very lonely Dr. Robotnik.
I don't think you're giving enough credit. You're right, a lot of those things are true. I do think the portrayal of Robotnik's romantic tendencies is better here, because it's clear that he's not lonely and pathetic. He just wants power. And so he's like, his way of being like, I'm in love, is like, I have opportunity to use a new tool, basically.
He
So
does seem more in love with the power than Sally.
So you're saying that this Robotnik would have taken Catella up on her offer in Adventures of Sonic.
Yes, I would say so.
Okay. Anyway, Sally at the start is upset because Sonic and Antoine are like, no, you can't go out alone. We need to protect you. And she's like, no, I am a strong, independent woman, and I do not need protection. But I guess the thesis of the episode ends up being that she kind of does a little bit, because
I mean, she is, you know, the
well, because
princess and the only living heir to the throne
I know, but
that
it's
we know
like
of, at least.
it's like if you have a story about how, oh, I don't need your protection, and then the thesis turns out, oh, yes, I do, because Sonic ends up protecting her anyway. It's like, well, that feels a little unfair.
Well, that is a little unfair, but I think it should be more that it should be more them saying, "Look, you need protection because you're the only
No, I mean, she's the
known
leader,
remaining."
but
Yeah, but they end up writing it in a way that comes off more as you need protection because you are a woman.
Sally can be annoying sometimes in these comics.
She can, yeah. I do like the witch costume though.
Yeah,
I mean,
which costume's nice.
which costumes are pretty much always great. I'm always in favor
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah, they generally look pretty good.
Tails is dressed up as a skunk, which makes me think, is that some sort of like, is that racist in this universe?
So we haven't seen anthropomorphized skunks yet.
No.
If you know, they never developed anthropomorphism because I assume that's what happened in this universe.
There are
Just
going
you
to be
wait.
skunks. There are going to also be some groups that they claim have never developed anthropomorphism, though, so that's going to be weird.
Oh boy, all right. Antoine is dressed like Satan because that's how most of the fan base seems to think about him.
Not the fan base, the writers. Fans like Antoine.
Excuse me, the writers, and well, what I've seen about other people saying about Sad AM Antoine.
Okay, well, Sad AM Antoine does kind of suck. Comic Antoine's
Right.
alright.
I mean, honestly, even so far, Comic Antoine hasn't been anywhere near as bad.
Actually, he's getting screamed at by Sally in the extra page, so it's like the positions have sort of shifted.
At the end, Sally is like, "Oh, thanks for saving me, Sonic," but then she has to remain stubborn and being like, "But I still wish you didn't come and save me, even though I was about to be in big trouble." Because they could have framed it that she was about to do something, but they framed it very much that she didn't have a plan, and Sonic was key. So it's, again, she comes off as annoying sometimes.
Yeah, but Sonic seems to be all right with her kissing him and then punching him. It's like those things like even out. He's all right with it.
Yeah, sure.
I mean,
Sonic
that kind of that portrays Sonic almost like a fucking masochist.
Listen, if a girl kissed me and then punched me, I wouldn't be like the most angry.
Devin, that might just be your loneliness talking.
Wow, what
I'm
disrespect.
sorry to say that, but
All right, let's move on to Sonic number 8 so that I don't fucking strangle Bruce. This cover has Sonic like leaving in the dust. You can see like Batman's arm, Captain America's shield, Spider-Man, I think Ghost Rider,
Wolverine, and then someone's gun.
I like the corner box gag that's literally just them trying to make a DuckTales joke.
Yeah.
I need to actually start looking at those corner arts.
No, I keep ignoring them if there's nothing to say about them, but that one I noticed when I was just checking this again to make sure if there was anything else I wanted to say, but...
Yeah.
But our first story of this issue is Bots All, folks. Written by Gallagher, drawn by Monarch. Robotnik attacks Sonic with a cavalcade of badniks based off of pop culture characters.
I would like to question everything, basically.
Yeah, it's, you know, we were saying about the comic book villains last time. It's like, oh, there's so many references. And now we've got Botman, Wolverkle, Spawnmower, Magbot, Captain Marbot, and Mightybot.
Very
Holy crap.
Adventures-esque.
But outside the occasional, like, Schwarzenegger archetype, I wouldn't say Adventures of Sonic directly referenced that much stuff, where it's just obvious.
I suppose you're correct. The Schwarzenegger robot was, I guess, an exception rather than a rule in Adventures.
Yeah. I have nothing to say about this. It's just the exact gags that you would expect. The only ones that I have any amount of respect for are the Urkel robot, because Sonic is voiced by Jaleel White, and the Spawn Mower, because it is unintentionally ironic, because this comic series would later cross over with Spawn.
Wait, it does?
Mhm.
Yes.
Oh,
It is one of
okay.
the most unhinged and bizarre comics in the entire series. You're gonna love it.
Fascinating. All right.
So I remember this one fondly, honestly. I think it's kind of a fun time. I enjoy the way Robotnik acts in this one. Like he's just having a good time the whole way. There's a great part when Sonic gets beat up by Botman, and then he's like down, and Robotnik's like, okay, so do a little zoom in on Sonic, then pan over to me as I laugh, and then swing back over to Botman and fade to black. Like he's directing it. He's having a great time, and I love it.
Yeah, he just really enjoys again the spectacle. He is great. And to be clear, I'm not saying that these comics they don't have enjoyment and or that they don't have
Oh yeah.
value. It's just I it's hard to find a lot of things to say about them because they go for the very obvious jokes in most cases.
I get what you're saying. I mostly agree.
I do like the Spawn Mower gag where he says, "Luckily, he stops every few panels to strike a pinup pose."
Good one, yeah. So there's something weird going on in this comic. I don't think you noticed it because it's not very obvious, but the lore implications. So crab meat at the beginning brings in the Sonic comics, right?
Right.
And then Robotnik is like, "Oh, you've got a plan, yeah, to make robots out of these comics, okay." But then he proceeds to trash the crab meat robot in his like recycler or whatever. However, there is another crab meat later on that speaks as if they're the same crab meat that owns the comics and came up with the plan. It's really weird.
So
So like,
I have a theory about that.
I do too.
All right. Well,
Um,
let's hear your theory.
my theory is remember back at I think it was the start of the miniseries where they presented each of the badniks as if they were characters. I
Right.
think that was intentional because they actually are ongoing characters. I noticed before where the mannerisms between the series of badniks are similar between different buzz bombers and different swap outs, etc. So I think that when a buzz bomber, or in this case a crab meat, is destroyed and then a new one is created, they actually have like a shared memory and consciousness, if you will.
Yeah, that was basically my theory. That not I mean not a shared consciousness, but like Robotnik has a backup of their consciousness, and it just gets
A
loaded into the next body.
a
Yeah,
collective
exactly.
memory per se.
Basically, yeah.
Well, and that's actually relatively consistent with much later plot stuff in these comics that I think this is a coincidence, but the idea of downloading a robot consciousness to an identical robot body over and over again is going to become a recurring thing in these comics. So that actually makes sense. So they can be both
Interesting.
characters and units of multiple badniks at the same time.
Well, right on. Interesting.
Interesting. All right.
My last note is it is absolutely hilarious to see Robotnik either being lazy or just desperate and riding on crab meat to escape.
I'm surprised that he can go that fast. Alright, well, our second story for this comic is A Little Sonic Goes a Long Way. I bet you know what this one's about. When their music annoys him too much, Robotnik retaliates against the freedom fighters by shrinking them.
As you do.
You know,
Sonic breaks physics in a way that's correct this time, by playing a note on a guitar and then reaching Tails before the note does, because that actually is how you break the speed of sound.
yes, that is true.
Right, yeah.
It would probably be drowned out by the sonic boom it makes, but whatever.
So this is the comic where Snively shows up in and it's not a dream, and he's actually here for the first time, but again, with no explanation.
Yeah, they just kind of expect you to know who he is.
Kind of strange, considering this comic usually tries to explain things.
I would almost expect like an entire story of background information on Snively.
Yeah.
Well, we will get that, just not now.
The way it comes off to me is it's a Dulcie situation where he was there all along. We just didn't
Right.
see him for some reason.
Yeah, that's probably the best explanation. He was just behind the scenes until now.
Which is ironic, because when Dulcie shows up in these comics, she gets more of an introduction than she does in SatAM. But yeah, so basically, Robotnik banned music in this continuity, same as in Adventures of Sonic and in Underground, and I suppose that's probably true of SatAM too, but I don't think they ever said it. But they sneak into the what is it? The concert hall? Yeah. There's this one panel where Bunny calls herself the sax cymbal of the team because saxophone and cymbal because music. But it's retroactively very funny for them to make a joke about calling Bunny the sex symbol when you know how sexualized the art in these comics becomes.
Yeah, I don't know what that line is doing there.
It is
It's
it's odd and a little weird.
it's just deeply ironic is all it is.
Yeah.
The rest of this is well, so it's weird because they it's called A Little Sonic Goes a Long Way, and it's about them being shrunken, but they only spend like 2 or 3 pages shrunken.
Well, the
Um,
pace of these comics
the pace
is
is like all
interesting.
over the place.
Yeah, it's honestly not that surprising at this point. But you're right. I guess it is a little strange. A little strange. Haha. No,
Yeah, it's
I could write for these comics.
You probably could actually, but
So, it's time for me to put on my thinking goggles again and be like,
Oh boy.
Oh, did you notice something that's a little strange about this? So Snively is like, hi, doctor, I have a device that can shrink things. Isn't that so cool? Remember back in issue 4 with Universe Salamander, though? Robotnik already had that.
oh
So
yeah,
why
Yeah.
is this like a new thing?
Robotnik has a really bad memory.
these were written
Well,
by the same guy.
Or Robotnik, I think Devin mentioned Robotnik doesn't like using the same plan twice. But if someone else brings up the plan, I guess it's fair game.
Yeah.
That's why he brought in Snively to suggest things so he can redo them.
Exactly. Suggest the same plan again so he has an excuse to do it again.
I can't do the same plan twice as long as it's my plan.
Exactly.
Right.
The only thing I can think of,
No, that's legitimately a very funny justification.
honest, and
I'll take it.
it seems in character enough, I think.
Pretty much any, Monster of the Week type series has something to say about the drain of the status quo on storytelling.
Right.
And that would be a funny way to portray that. Alright, moving on to Sonic the Hedgehog's number 9, because Tails puts an S on there. We got Pseudo Sonic. Robotnik designs a state-of-the-art robot Sonic to match the Hedgehog's speed and power. Sonic himself is incapacitated when he has an allergic reaction to some flowers.
I like that on the cover here. Instead of having a joke in the corner box, you just have Robotnik looking and like enjoying himself.
And also, this is not a new thing, and it's gonna be a very consistent thing. But we've got a scenario on the cover that absolutely does not happen in the issue.
I mean, that's kind of what I expect. But yes.
Yeah, so we've got a bit of a weird scenario here because we've got Pseudo Sonic, which is also an episode of Sat AM, but this is
Adventures
a
of
very
Sonic.
different
Adventures.
Story. Did I say
It's
Sat AM? God,
Yes, he said Sad AM.
my mind substitutes the better show in.
I mean, that's fair.
But yeah, we got the Pseudo Sonic, same as in Adventures of Sonic, and we've got a lot of similarities, like Sonic having an allergic reaction and being incapacitated, but the rest of the comic is completely different.
Yeah.
I do have to say though, the Pseudo Sonic still looks really cool.
No, I like him.
He looks like he'd shank me in a back alley, and I'm fine with that.
He looks
Very
like he's
jagged.
gonna steal all your crypto and sell it on Craigslist. I don't even know what that means.
Oh my god.
Jokes on him, I only bought scam shit coins.
They're all scam shit coins.
Fair.
But he has an actual personality here. He's not just a mech suit like
He's not just a
in
dude in a suit. That's nice.
the spring locks activate, killing Tails instantly. No, but he's the standard, evil robot personality where he's just very aggro, very he kind of beats up Robotnik as he's testing him out,
Oh yeah.
which I think is funny.
I feel like Robotnik would view that as a success.
He doesn't seem too shaken by it.
Other than just saying that there's some bugs that needs to.
Yeah, he's mostly
yeah.
impressed by the feats.
Yeah.
Bugs to iron out as he holds up an iron. Was he just keeping that in his pocket?
He has it specifically to make that joke.
He was prepping it because he knew it was buggy and it would bug out at some point.
I guess his clothes are looking pretty wrinkled in this shot. Maybe that's why.
But yeah, he irons it out afterwards.
Exactly. Yeah, not the bugs. He irons out his clothes.
Right.
Yeah. Sonic starts this issue by just randomly abusing Antoine, which is nothing new, but it's like it's crazy when he just hits him with the top of the oak slide while Antoine is keeping watch and is like, "Oops, sorry, asshole." It's like, what is your damage?
I feel like Sonic was dropped on his head as a child like Goku.
Huh. Oh, but it made him more angry instead of less, like Goku.
Exactly. Instead of giving him good brain damage, it gave him bad brain damage. Jesus Christ.
Ugh. That has unfortunate implications. But
Yeah.
this story also introduces the greatest Sonic character of all time, Betty Butterfly, who I think appears in this
Yeah.
in this comic and nothing else.
Such a shame, honestly. So much potential.
Yeah, my first question is why the fuck is this butterfly? Or when I was reading, my first question was, why is this butterfly talking?
Well, it's so just out of the understanding of what people like about Sonic's characters and their designs, because it's like the rest of the Freedom Fighters are already a step removed from SEGA designs, but you can at least make the argument that they look like they belong in Sonic's universe.
Yeah, I mean, none of the Freedom Fighters would look that out of place in a Sonic game.
Yeah, but a butterfly in Sonic would have at least 3 neon colors. They would wear, they would have 2 arms, 2 legs, gloves, and shoes, be the same height as Sonic, and probably have a name like, I don't know, Chrysanthemum, or something that's a noun,
Either that or be a badnik.
Oh, there's plenty of butterfly badniks.
Yeah, so that's probably why I was thinking that.
But we get like, Sonic breaking out in hives to be replaced by Pseudo Sonic completely by chance, I guess.
Yeah.
I like the joke, the random fourth wall breaking, as they're like, Antoine, how did you fall for that? And he's like, he was drawn in silhouette.
Yes, I do like that. When he was being just as mean to me as normal Sonic.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
I do appreciate that instead of doing the usual, everyone mistakes him for regular Sonic, and they all just kind of ignore him and act like he's normal. They basically immediately say, "Oh shit, that's not Sonic."
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of surprising, but refreshing.
Also, Rotor has a name tag that says, "Hello, my name is Rotor." I assume this is when his name was changed from Boomer.
Probably. We're doing the digital versions of these comics.
Right.
So those try to retroactively change his name, but they miss some of them.
They missed quite a few, and it confused me for a second before I realized, oh, Boomer is Rotor.
It's a little funny because it's like, well, if they can instantly recognize that it's not Sonic, then what specifically is the point of making him Sonic instead of just very fast? But I also don't really believe that criticism, because Robot Sonic is just a cool as hell idea.
Exactly, because Robot Sonic is fucking rad.
Yeah.
Don't you know that the hedgehog is the most optimized shape for speed in Sonic's universe?
Hey, you can curl up into a ball. Balls are pretty fast.
Apparently, so are foxes, though, because Tails defeats Pseudo Sonic pretty much single-handedly by just copying Sonic's move and being quite fast.
Yeah, well, he's been training under him.
Does that mean
I do like that Tails also, like, he used his own spin on, like, running around him really fast by also dragging his tails on the ground to create a bunch of static.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say in the comics, Tails is much more, like, right off the bat, capable in his own.
Though I feel like he should have been rubbing his tails together, not against the floor.
Yeah.
But that's a minor nitpick.
Yep. And so we defeat Pseudo Sonic relatively easily, but I want to highlight the last panel here, which not only has Boomer's shop with Rotors pasted over it, so that's definitely when they changed the name.
Yeah.
But it also, I wanted to highlight the last page of the issue after they find Sonic, which I like that Bunny gets to be cool, where was she last issue? Whatever. But I want to highlight the very last panel here, where Pseudosonic's head is in the garbage can, and he says, "If enough fans write to Sonicgrams, can I have a sequel?" And I know I keep harping on this, but did more kids write back for Al and Cal than for Robot Sonic? Because he never gets a sequel.
That feels wrong.
You know,
So
maybe my best theory is that they considered Metal Sonic to be a sequel when they introduced him, so it's like we don't really need Pseudo Sonic anymore.
That feels like a cop out, though. Like you could have Pseudosonic, like you could have have a story of Pseudosonic fighting Metal Sonic for the best Sonic clone supremacy.
Oh, he can be a jobber. You can show how cool Metal Sonic is by just turning Pseudo Sonic into powder.
There you go. That's
God.
the thing. There you go. Yeah,
I would have loved that.
that would be really cool.
Quite simply, I think that they just did whatever they felt like, and they
Yeah.
didn't really pay too much attention to the letters.
Yeah, I'm
They
not
repeated
convinced.
them a few times.
I'm not
but-
convinced that they even cared about the letters. I think they just did that to try and get people to send letters in to show them off in the comics.
And just build excitement, that kind of a thing.
Right, to build hype, basically, or build up fan base.
Anything else for the story?
There's a scene where Rotor is like rooting around in Pseudosonic's head, and I don't like that image.
It's a little bit like we're doing brain surgery on the Sonic.
Right, and especially because at the end he says, send letters in. It's like, oh shit, he was still alive, or he was still like,
Oh, that can't have felt good.
yeah. If he has pain receptors, like Robotnik, I feel like Robotnik would put pain receptors in
he'd put them in
his
all of them.
in his robots. So like that's got to be fucking weird.
What would be the fun of shoving crab meat through the shredder if he couldn't feel it?
Doing it multiple times to what's effectively the same crab meat.
Oh no. Oh no. The little details, they add up to something utterly horrifying.
Yeah, just to, leave you guys with that thought.
All right. Our bonus pages are another how to draw Sonic, and then just a bunch of jokes about Robotnik being scared to go to the dentist, which, kind of mood. I don't like going to the dentist either.
I feel like I'm the only person who has never had a problem with going to the dentist.
Yeah, well, I drink so much soda that, like, teeth on one side of my face have kind of melted, so that might be part of it.
That's interesting, because I've drank way too much soda in my life, and I've only ever had one cavity. Or maybe two.
I don't have cavities, I just have, like, worn down teeth. They just don't have enamel.
That's weird, because my teeth, other than that, have been, like, A-okay, other than, sometimes I forget to brush my teeth, and there's some plaque built up.
This is a dumb conversation. Let's move on.
It is.
Our second story for this issue is What's the Point? Written by DeCesare, drawn by Monic. Sonic finds a thorny bird, but Sally thinks it's a trap. Then Sally gets attacked by a sentient tree, and the bird helps save her, thus proving once and for all that nothing in the forest can ever be dangerous or something. I don't know what I was on when I wrote that description. That's really weird.
That was an elegant summary, I must say. It's the typical the heroes get a pet story.
Yeah.
But it's unruly.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the writers should really have realized the folly in naming one of their stories What's the Point? Because it's like...
The jokes write themselves.
Yeah.
There's a meme on the first page with the tree.
Okay, so we gotta talk about this now. Sonic has this panel where he lists off all of his favorite bad tree puns. I don't want to go on a limb, but I would like to get to the root of Sally's problem. I'd be a sap if I decided to leaf. As far as that's concerned, I'll try to see her things through for sure. If not, I'll be pining and weeping. I'd rather take a bow, okay? And, those are all horrible.
Feel better after doing that?
No, I do not feel good at all.
Okay.
But this panel is nice, because it resulted in everyone's favorite, friggin' Sonic meme. Alone on a Friday night? God, you're pathetic.
Pathetic. I love this meme so much.
But hey, guess what, you guys? It's Friday night, and we are alone together.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have nothing to say about this actual story.
No,
Sally is just rude as usual. The pet seems like a problem, but then they come through and save the day in the end. Whoop-de-doo.
I feel like Sally's poor writing is just a sign that the writers don't know how to write like well-written female characters. They just like, oh, they have to be naggy like my wife.
Yeah. Well, in any case, we do have one more thing before the story is over, which is Buff Sonic.
Oh, Lord Buff Sonic.
Yeah.
It's the Supreme High Sonic.
That it is. That it is.
So we now have to agree that if Sonic had gotten the Chaos Emeralds and Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, this is what they would have become.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, we get buff tails from that one, so
That's
You're
true.
right! I forgot about that.
yeah.
Buff Sonic.
All right. Well, moving on here to Sonic number 10, we start off with Revenge of the Nerbs, written by DeCesare and drawn by Dave Monick. And immediately I want to highlight that they've changed Sonic's design because he no longer has the quill mohawk.
Yes, he
And
does not.
You can tell that Monick was, like, still trying to draw it in a lot of these images, and then had to, like, change his art.
Yeah, it honestly, it looks better. I'm not a big fan of the quill mohawk, to be honest.
You have to be a very specific couple of artists to make it work.
I thought you were going to do the Rick and Morty meme.
To be fair, you have to have a very high IQ to appreciate Sonic's quill mohawk. Anyway, while on a mission, Sonic and friends find themselves embroiled in the affairs of the subterranean society of the Nerbs. And the whole joke is that they've got buck teeth and glasses, and they wear pocket protectors and bad ties and, like, cargo shorts. That it's a nerd joke. They're nerds.
Also, the first of two things, that really feels like them just trying to insult up their potential reader base.
Yes.
And two, are these little bastards just the Nerds Candies mascots?
They do look a little bit like that. You are right.
Okay, good. Other than
They also
they have arms and they're more bipedal, but yeah.
But the rest of the story is really just Sonic and company. They end up underground, and they have to get these guys help to get out, but they're all just annoying and not very helpful most of the time. And then they have to fight Robotnik.
So Robotnik has this excavator robot that always has this dopey look on its face. It's kind of like, hey, what's up, guys? Like, seems super chill. I don't know. It looks silly. I love it.
Also,
Well-
can we quickly talk about how, perfectly in character it is that Sonic played in the sewers?
Yes.
Yeah, that's about right. On the topic of the sewers, why the heck do they, like, lead to a set of doors that open up into the river? What's the point of that?
Yeah, that does seem like a good way to destroy your water supply.
So they do have one joke that I kind of like and kind of pisses me off, which is that when Sonic's running through the sewers, they have a joke with the Ninja Turtles in the background.
Yeah.
Did Archie have the Ninja Turtles license at this time? Yes.
I thought that was Marvel, but that might be wrong.
I know they had it at some point. It is funny though, because I think that in 1993, like, the actual Ninja Turtle stuff that was going on in comics at the time was probably way cooler than these Sonic comics are. And I don't even mean that to disparage the Sonic comics as being bad, just that they're cheesy, you know?
Right. The Ninja Turtles, it's not deep, but, like...
They got action. They punch people in the face.
Right, there's more there.
I don't have anything else to say about this story. It's not that good.
It has water in it, so that guy on Miiverse will like it.
And our second story for this issue is Twan with the Wind, written by Angelo DeCesare and illustrated by a new artist. We've got Art Mawhinney on art here, I think. Yes, a new artist, and I generally like this artist. He'll become a recurring figure on these comics.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, he's just a little bit more polished in terms of posing and angles.
Yeah.
So when scouting a location for their annual picnic, which we'll get into that part, in Antoine's hot air balloon, the freedom fighters are knocked out of the sky by buzz bombers. On the day of the picnic, a spurned Antoine becomes determined to keep his friends safe from Robotnik all by himself.
Good for Antoine.
He's also just really annoyed that his balloon got popped.
So they have a hot air balloon, which is not exactly stealthy, but it also is branded with FF on it, which is like, and they're doing this to scout for an annual picnic, which have we not seen them already have a picnic in these comics? What makes the yearly one different?
This is when they hold the annual picnic. They can hold other picnics throughout the year.
The difference about the yearly picnic is that it's yearly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It has to happen. There's at least one picnic per year.
Antoine at one point says, I was the head of balloons for the king of Mobius. And then in his imagination, I don't know who the hell this guy in the crown is. It's not King Acorn, though.
It could have been some other official. You know, even if you help the king, that doesn't mean you don't lead other peoples around.
I assume that's meant to be the king, though, because he's wearing a crown with the letter M on it. So. Oh, you know what? You know what? I'm just realizing now. Maybe he's colored pink because Sally is pink at this point.
That's probably
It still doesn't look like the king, but whatever. But yeah, so the hot air balloon gets popped, and pretty much everyone shits on Antoine for it, which is like a lot of they say a lot of the things that I said, which is like, oh, an old-fashioned balloon has no place in a world of high-tech robots, which is correct. But like Antoine is like, I'll hold out, I'll show them that balloons are actually good. And well, actually, he does do that because he gets up in the balloon himself, and he drops some explosives on SWAT bots, which is kind of badass.
Heck
carpet
yeah.
bombing.
He even hoists Robotnik up by the cape and drops him in the lake, which is like, that's more than he could do ever in Sat AM, where he thought he had Robotnik in a trap at one point and then rocket boots.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, I don't have any specifically strong opinions on this issue other than the balloon thing being weird, but I do like that they literally just have Antoine unironically get a win through his own skills.
Yeah, no, that's nice. It's nice to see Antoine finally, actually being the Chad that he might be.
Yeah, he's got the most character progression out of anybody in this series so far. Oh, you know what it might be? I'm just now realizing. This is one of the first issues we've had with no stupid extra pages littering it, and that's probably why the stories feel like they actually take up a significant pace.
Fascinating.
Well, all of that gives us a slightly brighter vision for the future, maybe, which is going to be immediately challenged next time because he's here.
The boogeyman.
And on that note, whatever that note means to you, we are going to be done for tonight. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you have any questions, comments, or feedback, you can contact us at deepdivezonepod@gmail.com or at deepdivezone on Twitter. Feel free to share and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I hope you all have a nice night, and we'll see you next week.